Hello, I'm Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. I'm so excited to be joined once again for the Fantasy Life Championship live stream event here on RealTime Fantasy Sports, and I am going to be joined by our good friend Howard Bender. He is not drafting this week. He is actually going to get to watch and comment. So, Howard, I know you're looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun tonight for sure.
I am. I was just saying, it's been so long since I've just been able to study a draft without having my own team involved. So I'm super excited because now I can really break down who's got what strategy and who's doing what. So I'm very excited to get this sucker going, and it's already off to the races. Look at that. I love quick drafters. I love that.
They don't mess around, and this is a great draft. I know several of the owners in this draft are some of our best players on our site. I was trying to figure out their exact rankings, but I think there's 4 of the 12 owners in this draft that are top 10 on our site in the rankings, so fantasy rankings. So these are some big-time players in this draft. I'll go through the team names real quick before we start getting into the picks, Howard. I'm a Mog, no idea. Ponchos.
Wait, what? You don't know? I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. It's Spaceball.
Okay. I got you. That's all new to me. And you got
right. I'll handle the pop culture.
There you go. Bye week blues. Picking third, Rain. Picking fourth, Los Haggis. Picking fifth, Jack in the Box. In the 6-hole discount double. 7th, Space Invaders 8th, Mr. Miyagi 9th, Champ 1 10th, Toucan 24 11th, and Drago Champions 12. So to reset here, it's the Fantasy Life Championship. You want to get in one of these drafts, just go to RTSports.com, click on that Money League link. You can see all the different offerings we have on there, but this Fantasy Championship draft is our big one. $500,000 is the prize. As mentioned, Howard got in the one last week that we live streamed. This week he gets to watch, but there's definitely a ton you can learn from these drafts, and that's why we're doing them each week. We're going to broadcast one of these on our live stream channels here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as well, so you can check them all out on there. And we are almost through the first round already, Howard. So let's look at those picks. We want Bijan, Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Genty, Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Malik Neighbors. One more pick to go. Any surprises for you out of that first round, Howard?
No. You know what the funny thing is that this is probably the first time I've seen Derrick Henry. This is the highest I think I've seen Derrick Henry go.
Agreed.
So far this year. But the dude just signed 2-year, $30 million contract. He's the first player over the age of 30 to be earning, first running back over the age of 30 to be handed $15 million a year. So, you got to think that if the Ravens are rocking in on that, I'm 100% in on Derrick Henry. I mean, we keep saying it over and over, right? The wheels are going to fall off the wagon. You couldn't possibly handle this many carries. Jeff, he's handled it every step of the way. And while you never want to be the last guy sitting there left holding the bag, I'll take that shot. I think it's a solid move. Solid move.
I agree. I was a big swing and a miss on Henry last week for the same reasons you just mentioned, Howard. And I already have taken him in a draft that I've been in, which is not something I did at all last year, but I took him in the second round of a best ball draft that I did here a couple days ago. So that was my first shares of him. But like you said, I'm not going to sleep on him just because he's getting older, like you mentioned as well. A 2-year deal, so they obviously realize that he has a lot left in the tank also. So I think Henry could be set up for another huge season. So maybe the only surprise for me so far, besides the Henry, is now Brock Bowers goes here in the first round. That's the highest I've seen him as well. Any thoughts on that?
It's also the highest, and we can get to that in a bit also, is the highest I've seen Christian McCaffrey go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize that.
Sneak on in there. But the Bowers part, yeah, I agree with you. We kind of got fish hooked into all of this, with the tight ends now. And last year was supposed to be the season of the tight ends. You bring in Geno Smith. He's a passable quarterback. He's not anybody who I particularly care for. You didn't increase really, except for Jack Besh, the rookie. You didn't do anything to fix the, help with the passing attack. You brought in Genty, which tells me that you're going to want to go run heavy. But, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, those are the same targets. Teams are now going to get wise to it. And we've seen, right? We've seen the clamp down on Travis Kelce. We've seen tight ends emerge and are spectacular in one year. And then everybody catches wise on them and you can't stop them, then the following year, they fall apart, right? We're always like, who's the next Travis Kelce? And a guy always does it for a season and then he falls off. So, I'm not saying that Bowers is not worthy of the number one tight end spot, but there's a significant number of other players who I would rather have as my first round pick.
So the move at QB for them, Geno Smith, is that a lateral move? Is it an improvement? I mean, last year was
definitely an improvement. It's definitely an improvement, but it's Geno Smith. Are you excited about Geno Smith?
No, not really. I agree, though. I think it is a slight improvement. But, I mean, Aiden O'Connell slung it around a little bit last year, and he wasn't afraid. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, not from an NFL perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, I don't think he was the worst guy to have back there. So, who knows? Yeah. I guess we'll find out.
Now, McCaffrey, here's the funny thing, Jeff, is that I'm doing a slow draft best ball charity thing somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And I had the 7th pick in the draft, and I took Ashton Genty, just like our friend Jack in the Box took here at 6. But I took him at the 7th spot. And it came back around. I was like, all right, excuse me, I'm going to want to get, some good, strong wide receivers. And who's there? And all of a sudden, I see like all these wide receivers come off the board. Like Ladd McConkey's gone. And like all of a sudden, I'm like T. Higgins. And then I look over, and there's Christian McCaffrey, middle of the 2nd round. So to see him go here 6th overall, I mean, no Deebo Samuel, right? It's still the offense is the offense, and he's the focal point. You've got Ayuk, you've got Pearsall, you've got Kittle still, Jawan Jennings. Like, it doesn't really excite me. You got to figure that McCaffrey, if he's healthy, that's McCaffrey. That's first-round talent.
Definitely is a boom or bust pick, but he can win you your league if he stays healthy for the whole year as a guy capable of finishing 1st overall. I think in a contest like this, I get it. You want to try to win the overall. You got to try to swing for the fences, and that could end up being good value. So I think it makes some sense. I'm actually more comfortable taking him in even a best ball format because maybe I'll go a little more heavy on running backs in the earlier rounds than if I take someone like McCaffrey, and if he gets hurt, has to miss a few games, maybe I can get away with it. But again, big contests like this, you got to take some chances, and that's what the Las Vegas team did there. He took McCaffrey, followed that up with Williams. So I like that. I mean, go running back if you take McCaffrey because of the injury risk factor. Is that what you're going to do if you're going to – I mean, you took McCaffrey in the 2nd round, and you already had a running back on your roster you just mentioned. But if you're going McCaffrey 1st round, will you go running back in the 2nd round most likely?
I don't know. It just, again, it always kind of depends, right? Like, I mean, who's out there? I mean, I've seen, you look at the running backs who are currently off the board right now, and I'm still enamored with, where the man who just went off the board, Breece Hall, right? So, I mean, if I'm picking at the tail end of the draft, if I get into that spot where it's like, whether it's, Bowers, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., I might just lean towards the running backs at that point, right? Like, I mean, we showed last week, I'm not afraid to take Kenneth Walker around earlier, the head of ADP, just because of what I believe in here. So, I'm not, it always depends on who's out there, where I can get the biggest value. But if you're talking about like the Drake London, AJ Brown territory, I'd still probably rather have like a Jonathan Taylor or Breece Hall.
I'm probably the same way as well, because I think those guys have a huge, just a little bigger ceiling at a position that can be a little more challenging for sure. Let's look at the 2nd round now. We went Nacua with the 1st pick, Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, Drake London, Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Breece Hall, Ladd McConkey. I mean, that was a pretty standard round. Nothing really stands out to me, quite frankly. That's pretty chalk for the most part. Nothing really too crazy there. Anything?
No, nothing crazy at all, because I keep seeing Puka Nacua going in the first round.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen Nico go at the tail end of the first round there. I've seen Brian Thomas taken late in the first round. So, you kind of expect to see these guys, excuse me, come off the board. I think that's it's a pretty chalky second round. I'll tell you, the two picks that I'm always a little kind of suspect on is just Devon Achane and Bucky Irving. Like, believe it or not, like, I was one of the champions of Bucky Irving last year. I hated Rachaad White. And I was like, going to lead this campaign here. And those who got Bucky Irving, it was fantastic. But Liam Cohen's gone. You've got John Grizzard. He wants to, maintain a lot of the elements. Todd Bowles has said he wants him to maintain a lot of the elements to just, because you've got Godwin and Mike Evans still there. But you also got Jalen McMillan, and then you used early draft capital on Emeka Egbuka. Cade Otton is still there. So all of a sudden now, is John Grizzard going to suddenly throw a little bit more? Is he going to, continue to use Bucky Irving as the bell cow back, or is Rachaad White or Sean Tucker going to kind of sneak their way through? So it's just, I don't like the coaching movement and guessing whether or not, the player's still going to see the same opportunity. And Devon Achane for me is just, it's so risky. If Tua's not out there, then it's, it's a very, very suspect time for him. And he can get very inconsistent. And then you're also dealing with Tyreek Hill, who, commands a lot of attention. But when he's out, it really diminishes from the passing game there for Miami, because I think Jalen Waddle is a million times is just overrated.
Yeah.
So then you take away the passing attack there, and everybody can focus on stopping the run. So Achane, Irving, probably two guys that I would avoid just for my own sake of the draft, but everybody else in that round too, I dig it.
My one guy in that round you didn't mention, who I'm kind of scared of, and it's just because I don't trust Sean McVay that much when it comes to running backs as teams. I know he's been tremendous the last couple of years. They drafted another running back, though, this year. They drafted Blake Corum the year before. I just feel like they're always trying to find that next back. And I don't know. I think one of these years it's just going to be a change of the guard there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's another guy I'm just kind of scared of for some reason. I just don't know.
I would be concerned with him if he wasn't playing, though, like a 90% snap share. Like, he led all running backs in the NFL in snap percentage. I mean, he is the guy. They kept using him. I look at Kyron and I'm like, okay, I can buy into that. I will have to handcuff him. I don't know if it's going to be to Blake Corum or if it's going to be to Jarquez Hunter, but he's like one of those guys who you have to, just handcuff to, because he gets such a high snap share that when somebody else kind of backs up, it's like Kenneth Walker goes down, Zach Charbonnet gets all the touches. Whoever's next in line behind Kyron Williams is going to get all those touches. So if you're worried about, Kyron's health and history, I think that's the way to take it. And just on cue right there, another risky kind of guy there, and Tyreek Hill in the third round.
That's another guy. You swing for the fences. I mean, he was a first round pick last year in most leagues, if I'm not mistaken. And this year he going in the third round. So definitely has some question marks surrounding him. I wonder how much the wrist injury was a factor for him. Was it a lot more serious than we knew? Who knows? He's kind of a knucklehead off the field as well at times. So he has some question marks. Another guy definitely could hit big, though, Howard, if he is firing on all cylinders.
Yes, if he's firing on all cylinders. And that was actually a discussion that I had earlier in the day with Jim Bowden on the Fantasy Alarm Show, was at what point do you look at Tyreek Hill and say it's worth it, right? I mean, what you could be getting out of Tyreek Hill, I get it. He's older, and there's the wrist injury, and there's, if Tua, doesn't show, I don't know how you don't shore up on your backup quarterback. It makes no sense to me, Miami. For the love of God, right? I mean, seriously, just get yourself a bona fide QB out there behind Tua. You could sign one, for crying out loud. Derek Carr's looking for a job. I'd rather have Derek Carr than see what they they end up. But I mean, how far would you let? I mean, if you're looking here in the third round, this is the 5th pick of the third round. Is that a good spot for you for Tyreek, or would you try and see if you could like let him fall a little further?
I mean, for me, I'd rather have someone like Garrett Wilson than Tyreek Hill personally. I just think he's set up for a huge season without Davante Adams there. He has his former college quarterback throwing the ball to him. I just think he has a higher ceiling. I just don't know. I'd hope Hill would fall maybe later third, early fourth round before I maybe pull the trigger on him. I just still think there are other options that I'm a little more excited about than Hill. I just think he still has some question marks after last season. And if anyone has any questions or comments out there, feel free to put them in the chat. We actually have an NBA question, Howard, which I don't think that's ever happened for me during a draft. But thoughts on Dallas winning the draft lottery? I don't think that has to do with the NFL because they did not win the draft lottery. That was the Dallas Mavericks. But I don't have many thoughts on that. Do you?
Well, I mean, you know what? I mean, the funny thing is that we can look at it in two ways. A, the Dallas Cowboys really did have a great draft, right? For what they needed, the players that they got, they did actually have a strong draft. As far as the Mavericks go, winning the draft lottery, oh, dude, I totally believe the fix is it.
It does seem like it, doesn't it? That's crazy.
Are you ready for this one? Here you go. I'm just going to dazzle you with little numbers. I'm going to credit my boy Jeff Mans over at Fantasy Guru, right? And the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM. He actually did the mathing on this and figured it out. Over the last 30 years, 11 times a marquee team or a marquee player who was going to turn around a big franchise and the team had less than 2% chance to win, won. 11 out of 30, a 1% chance won the draft lottery. This dates all the way back to, my days when I actually watched basketball and the frozen envelope that the Knicks got Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
He turned that whole franchise around completely. True. New York, big market. So here you have the Dallas Mavericks send Luka over to the Lakers. I know I'm wasting so much time talking basketball here, but Luka goes to the Lakers. It improves, so now you've got marquee LeBron and Luka in the big media market. And, it's a shame that they got knocked out of the playoffs. Not really. And now you're rebuilding Dallas, which is the 5th largest media market in the NBA right now. So now you just gave them Cooper Flag to rebuild their entire franchise around. The fix is in, buddy. I'm telling you.
So in 15 years, there's going to be a Netflix documentary for sure.
Oh, easily. Easily. I don't even know if we can wait 15 years. We might have to just start putting this together now.
The other thing that happened tonight was the schedule release. I don't know if you've witnessed a lot of these teams that are releasing their videos now, which are quite funny. I would, if you got a minute, go through Twitter and X, I should say, and check some of those out. They're really quite funny. The Tennessee Titans did an absolutely hilarious one. It was like on a drug commercial type of ad for their schedule release. And then you had a couple Minecraft ones. So the Chargers did a really good one. The Chiefs did like a cash cab thing as well. But these teams are going all out now for these.
Dude, that's literally my favorite part because, all the leaks that come out, like we had the whole international schedule and we've had Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day and Black Friday and first game of the season. Hell, for whatever reason, the New York Jets' first 4 weeks got leaked out that I knew what they were doing here. So, whatever, that's all well and good. It's about these videos, these, schedule release videos. That's what I'm 100% about. That's exactly hysterical. So I'm glad it's so funny. I was like, I haven't had a chance to even check them out. So I definitely will.
You're going to have to. We're going to have to get back to this draft, though. There's been some stuff happening.
The QB run, dude.
Yeah, some big picks. So the third round, we didn't even talk about that, was Trey McBride, Chase Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba, James Cook, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Alvin Kamara, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chuba Hubbard, Davante Adams. And then the fourth round, as you mentioned, big QB run. You have Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Omarion Hampton, RJ Harvey, and then Jaden Daniels was the first QB picked followed by Lamar Jackson, Rashee Rice. Patrick Mahomes goes third. That's the highest I've seen him go at QB so far this year. And then Josh Allen. So we've had some interesting QB picks. I just don't know if I could take Daniels or Mahomes ahead of either Jackson or Allen, quite frankly. I just don't know if I have the guts to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Mahomes hasn't been the Mahomes of what we've always been used to, but he's also lost his, the receiving core to a lot of injuries. And so now everybody's back and you've got Rice and Marquise Brown. Kelsey is still floating around there. He's still going to draw significant attention. You've got Xavier Worthy. So they do add, they add some elements to it that it makes Mahomes very attractive. One of the things is that when you're drafting, you have to draft based on what you expect to see, not what you've seen over the last season or two, right? Because there's always so many different aspects that change during the course of an NFL season. And, who knows? Maybe Mahomes is a little bit more affected by the injuries than we would actually kind of let on. I find it, to be an interesting pick here because I think everybody just always covets the rushing quarterback, right? And that's the element of Mahomes' game that really it's not as strong as Josh Allen. So I understand taking Mahomes high up and what the possibilities are, but yeah, that rushing element, is something it's huge. I mean, if your QB can add 10 to 12 fantasy points a week to your roster, that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the only thing I would say with this pick, though, with Mahomes. Again, I think sometimes people use ADP as a crutch, but I think it's definitely a good tool to use to see where these players are going. You don't have to, draft them in that exact spot. Sometimes you have to jump up, but Mahomes has a 57 ADP or so. So I think he might have went a little early in getting him, might have used better value, maybe waiting another round or two to get Mahomes on your roster. That'd be the only difference I would make with that pick. Again, I'm fine. Mahomes is your guy, but I think that team might have been able to get him maybe a round, maybe this fifth round would have made more sense from my perspective, at least.
Who would you have put in there instead of Mahomes? Like thinking, I mean, look at the theme that we've got going on with his team right now. McCaffrey, big, huge upside, huge injury risk. Kyron Williams, high snap share, definite injury risk. Tyreek Hill, amazing ceiling, huge injury risk, and could be the victim of bad QBing. And then Patrick Mahomes, who just hasn't been Mahomes that fantasy owners have wanted over the last couple of seasons. So if you're going to still stay with Mahomes there as your QB, who's the next guy? Who's the guy do you put in there? Is it George Kittle? Do you go with the risky tight end of whether or not he's going to be able to keep it going?
Just push your chips all in, right? That's what he's doing there. I don't know if I do that. I would go safer personally, like a Mike Evans or DJ Moore might make
safer. Mike Evans is safer, so he's gonna go for 12 straight seasons of 1,000
yards. He's so dependable.
Yards.
I always is another guy I bet against too much, but I still think I don't think he's gonna produce like he did last year, but I think he can come close.
If he doesn't produce the way he produced last year, then that means not 1,000 yards.
That's true. He just reached it. You're right.
And he barely reached it. Like they gave him that last play in the final game or whatever it was. So
yeah. I don't know.
I think Mike Evans actually does fit in well with that. You put Mike Evans in there, come back around, you take Mahomes. that is that team 4 years ago was amazing.
So another pick in that round is DK Metcalf at the end of round 4. He's the clear number 1 now. That QB situation scares the heck out of me. Do you think Pittsburgh is going to go with Aaron Rodgers? Do you think that's what they're going to do? Or do you think they're going to go another route? I just don't know if he fits that organization in my view. I just can't see Mike Tomlin putting up with that, but maybe I'm missing something.
I don't really see Mike Tomlin putting up with that very much. I think that I don't know. Like, all right, if I'm the GM of the Steelers, I would just happily go into the season with Mason Rudolph, apologize to DK Metcalf, maybe give him like a little side bonus and be like, yo, we just need a year. We'll tank it. We'll get you Arch Manning next year. or one of the other more spectacular QBs, and we just kind of rebuild in that front. We hit on the QB. You're going to be able to be like our alpha receiver. We've got a great running back, and we can use the draft and free agency to build around this core group. That's what I personally would do. You bring in Aaron Rodgers, you're bringing in a circus. I mean, did you hear what Rodgers' comments were the other day? That he's like, it's better. He's like, it's better for me to sign later because right now it's less stressful for me just to have my name linked to the rumors of maybe I'll sign there, as opposed to signing there and then having to deal with the fact that I'm not at OTAs or June mini camp. Like, I'm not going to show up and do all the spring and summer activities. I'll be at training camp. And I think it's so off-putting. Like, that's what you want in your locker room. How do you build any kind of cohesiveness here? The only reason Tomlin puts up with it is that he would need a meat shield.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, if he fails to go above 500, whatever, he gets rid of, it's all Rodgers' fault, gets rid of Arthur Smith. Here's our new QB, whatever. And, or it just gets him that yet again that, whatever. He'll just blame Arthur Smith is what it comes down to.
A lot of people like to do that too. But I just look what he did to your Jets there, Howard. And he just left them. He set them back a couple years with that situation. And if I'm an NFL team, I'm just running away from that situation. Not good. Not good at all.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is like, it's being in a toxic relationship and having that person drain your bank accounts dry, take all your stuff and disappear in the middle of the night. That's what Aaron Rodgers does to your football team.
That's a good analogy. I like that. So the 5th round, we'll look at that now. So David Montgomery starts, first pick there. George Kittle, DJ Moore, Travis Hunter, Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers, Judkins, James Conner, Devonta Smith, and then Caleb Johnson. So Jalen Hurts is the 6th QB off the board. I think Jack in the Box probably feeling pretty good about getting him at that spot, quite frankly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do. And I think Hurts throws a little bit more. It was so easy to hand it off to Saquon Barkley when you got a lead because your defense wasn't going to let the other team score. Now you've basically revamped this entire defense and you're replacing with a lot of youth. And that doesn't always work. And while Fangio might be a genius defensively, if you don't have the personnel, you don't have the personnel. So maybe it kind of inspires some extra shootouts where Jalen Hurts starts throwing a little bit more.
What happens to Hurts' value if they do outlaw the tush push? I mean, he had 14 rushing touchdowns last year, 15 the year before, 13. That's a huge part of his game. I think you'd have to, knock him down a little bit, at least because of that. It's definitely something that I think owners could be a little bit concerned about right now.
No, didn't they vote to table that and not I
thought it was still on the board a little bit. I thought it wasn't totally. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not sure, but I mean, listen, it hurts his value, but he still runs. He'll still get you, 400, 500 rushing yards. And, he's not going to get 14 rushing touchdowns, but maybe he gets 5 or 6. If you look at it, I mean, how many rushing touchdowns did Josh Allen have last year? Right. Yeah. I don't even remember how many rushing did Josh have?
He had 12.
He had 12. Okay.
Yep.
So,
that's true.
I think that they can. I think they can maintain, him at the goal line being an option. It's just not as easy as the tush push.
All right.
You just wanted to say tush push, didn't you?
I did. Actually, I saw it in one of the schedule release videos. They had banned the tush push on a banner for something, and it made me think of that. So a couple of running backs picked in this 5th round I wanted to get your thoughts on. Veteran guys who have been around a while, gotten it done, been really good in recent years, but I think they definitely have some question marks. David Montgomery, James Conner, and Aaron Jones. Any of those guys scare you at all? Do you have any second thoughts about drafting them? Any guys you like better than others?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's the 3 of them always seem to get grouped together because they all have their pros and cons, and they are kind of getting a little long in the tooth. I think if I'm going to pick one guy that scares me the most, it's probably going to be Aaron Jones. They were already monitoring his workload last season. He does have an injury history. It's a very pass heavy offense. Kevin O'Connell loves to throw. And you're also looking at JJ McCarthy, who is a mobile QB, who's going to be under center, and guess who's going to poach some touchdowns? Those selfish son of a bitch quarterbacks stealing touchdowns from running backs. I mean, it's what ends up happening. So Jones would probably be my bigger concern out of those three.
I'm kind of the same way. I still worry about Connor a little bit as well, because I think Trey Benson could end up being a little more involved, especially with some of the comments that have come out recently. So interested to see what happens there. And Connor's always kind of had that injury label, but he really hasn't been hurt in recent years. He's been pretty healthy and played a lot. So I don't know if that's a fair tag for him at this
He also
stage.
showed that he could catch passes out of the backfield, which I definitely love. I'm a fan. The dude beat cancer.
That's true. He did. He's a tough guy.
Beat cancer. And I love the fact that he's on Peter's team here as the RB4.
Yeah.
You still have CeeDee Lamb and Xavier Worthy, but your RB4 is James Conner with Taylor, Kamara, RJ Harvey in there. I've gone back and forth with Peter a little bit in email, and definitely want to shout him out. He won last year, right?
Yeah, he won last year. He won
it all last year.
Won it all.
That's a sexy team build that he's got going on right now. That is that's a chef's kiss moment.
And then to let everybody know, it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 2 flex. So that could be another good reason for him to go so running back heavy there as well. When you get a guy maybe like Kamara, who might have some injury concerns, and you got to worry about that situation a little bit in New Orleans with their QB just being kind of a mess right now. So I guess that could be a little bit of a concern, but he's really backing it up with some good depth there at that running back spot. And he has CeeDee Lamb, who a lot of people think could challenge for that number 1 fantasy receiver title this year. And then Xavier Worthy's is number 2. I would expect Peter to go pretty receiver heavy in the next couple rounds coming up. Sure. You're kind of anxious to see how he fills that out. I'm sure he has some guys in mind that he likes.
Listen, there's some great guys still on the board. You're looking at the names in round 6, right? Godwin, yeah, he's coming back from the ACL, but he's rock solid and reports been great. Courtland Sutton, the X receiver in a Joe Lombardi system, that's a target funnel right there.
Yep.
Worthy. Ted McMillan will probably see a 25% snap share or target share over there. And how about, did you see the comments today that somebody, one of the coaches in Detroit, said that Jameson Williams is headed for a breakout year?
Uh-oh.
Hype.
I like Calvin Ridley too, quite frankly. Someone's got to catch passes there in Tennessee. And
number 1 guy, absolutely.
Yeah, he looked good last year. Now he gets a better QB. He doesn't have Will Levis throwing him the ball. I think that it's got to be a plus for him. He's been really good as well in the past. So I think there's definitely some upside there. I kind of like what that Rain team's doing there. I know you're not huge on Bucky Irving, but he has Jahmyr Gibbs, Irving, James Cook, who is pretty steady, doesn't get the huge yardage numbers, but touchdown potential good in that offense.
And he's got all the Buffalo touchdowns on the ground. He's got them all.
Exactly. And then he has Josh Allen, Travis Hunter, and Calvin Ridley. So pretty good little build going on for him there. I like that team so far.
Sure. Listen, I'm always going to be a little bit more favorable on a running back heavy draft. I am. Although I've kind of, I like what Peter did over there. I like what Toucan in the 11 spot. Mm-hmm. Right. I like grabbing those 2 high upside wide receivers and then just hammering running back. To have 3-4 good solid running backs on your roster by the end of round 6, I'm probably always going to favor your team.
Yeah, I mean, he gets Neighbors and Thomas, 2 guys that are probably going to push 100+ receptions. So that gives you a great weekly floor right there off the bat, as long as those guys stay healthy. And then you back it up with a bunch of running backs you can end up choosing from. I think that's a smart strategy and definitely could be a winning one from him. And as you mentioned as well, Courtland Sutton, who I mentioned on the broadcast last week, I'm big on him, and I know you are as well. So I like that value in round 6. Easy for me to say.
It is very easy for you to say, but you're very right. You're very right. Olave, that's the pick. That's the risk. And of course
Oh
it
yeah,
goes to
same
the
team.
same team. McCaffrey, Kyron, Tyreek, Mahomes, and Kelsey. The Mahomes Kelsey tandem, no less, right? And then you go with Olave, who, I mean, let's face it, healthy, lock in a 25% target share, in Kellen Moore's offense. It'll be run heavy more, but kind of open things up. It's just a matter of, can Tyler Shuck get him the ball?
Yeah, there is nobody else to catch the ball at receiver for them. I don't like anyone there. I am kind of high on Juwan Johnson a little bit. I think he could end up being a sneaky, good reserve pick because I just hate the options there in New Orleans, and I do think they're going to have to throw the ball some because they're going to be losing. So it's another guy I kind of think could be a good value later at least.
I'm on the edge of my seat with his pick on the board right now. It's ticking down. I mean, is he going to milk the clock? Is he going to make me sweat this out? I'm dying to see who he backs this pick up. I'm actually, this, as much as I love Peter's team, this could be my favorite team of the draft, because you want to talk about just A, drafting injury agnostic, but B, throwing caution into the wind and just saying YOLO, gonna take every guy. Jaylen Warren,
That's no fun. That's no fun.
Yeah, that wasn't that. Yeah, you let me down, Michael. I tried so hard, man. Tried.
It's not a bad pick though, Jaylen.
No. It's actually it's a perfectly fine pick, especially if you need that running back depth. Based off of what's on the board there. Now, would you have taken Tyrone Tracy as the number one in the for the Giants over Jaylen Warren, who is going to be working with Caleb Johnson? I know that Tyrone Tracy is going to have Scattaboo also, but which one of those guys do you prefer?
I like Tracy more personally, and
Yeah,
I think I might be higher on him than most a little bit, but I still think he's an exciting player. He's a converted receiver playing running back, doesn't really have a ton of experience at running back just yet, so I think he's still learning the position. He looked good last year. He was explosive at times. I think he's just going to get better. I still think he's going to be kind of the 1A, and Scattaboo is going to be the 1B in that offense. So I still think there's some potential there for Tracy personally.
Somebody came at me with it's the Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs 1-2 Thunder and Lightning all over again for the Giants. And you know what, man? Listen, I'm 100% here for it. Almost every backfield is a split backfield, and it's always going to be a pain in the ass now for fantasy. Yeah, which is why you see the quote unquote bell cows go as early as they do. But if you're sitting here in round 7 and you can land a Tyrone Tracy, I'll take the Lightning to the Thunder.
So another pick in round 7 is George Pickkins. So if I'm not in a best ball format, I just don't know if I want to deal with him. I just think he's going to be so up and down in that offense. What are your thoughts on him?
Oof. Yeah, I tell you, man, I'm not going to be allowed to bring you on to the Fantasy Alarm Show with Jim Bowden. Maybe with Andrew Cooper there, you can join us, but not with Jim. If you're not telling me that George Pickens is, I mean, he basically said it was like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins with Lamb and Pickens. So that's what Cowboys Nation is kind of in on. I'm in between. I mean, again, it's about the attitude. Like, there's so many situations. Pickens and his attitude going into camp. Is he going to be able to, keep that attitude in check? Is he going to be a selfish player? That's, he's almost got like a little of that Rod Tidwell before, the unconsciousness in Jerry Maguire. Like, he's sort of in that realm there, right? I mean, it's like I look at like Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, and I'm like, Adams is one of those guys who's like, just give me the freaking ball. So is he going to be able? So it's a lot of, it's like attitude going in. I think if George Pickens goes in with the right attitude and understands that CeeDee Lamb is going to see the majority of targets, and he's fine with that, and he's like, put me wherever you need me, coach, I'm ready. Like, if that's the attitude, I do actually really like it. I think that I would probably take Pickens in a draft. I think he is a very talented wide receiver. I just think he's a little loca in the cabeza.
So I didn't even realize this, Howard. So Puka and Devontae Adams are on the same roster in this league. The last team Drago champions, he took Nakua and Adams. Interesting.
It's very interesting, and he's waiting on QB. Do we see a little Matthew Stafford coming into play here? Are we Ram stacking?
Might be for sure. He's kind of waited on the running back position a little bit with Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones. Got a couple veteran guys who are pretty steady. We already gave our take on Jones, but Mixon's pretty dependable in that offense. He has a couple guys returning from injury, and Chris Godwin and Stephon Diggs as well. And then he went Mark Andrews, so he double tapped the tight end after taking Bowers in the first round. See, I don't know if I can go that early on a tight end. I know you can use Andrews as a flex play, but I still think there might be better options out there. If I got Bowers in the first round, I'm probably not taking a tight end until, 15th, 16th round again.
Well, and the only defense that I have in this is that there are 2 flex spots.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna get a tight end like Mark Andrews, who, let's face facts. I mean, you could sit there and like scramble through for some wide receiver 4 and and hope that he comes through, or you grab an extra running back and maybe he'll win the job, something like that. If you've got somebody like Mark Andrews who showed us that even after a slow start, you can finish the season as a top-rated tight end, you're getting points, right? And then you don't have to, you're not really making lineup decisions. You're like, I know what Andrews is going to give me and what he's been giving me, and that's probably going to be better than anything else that I grab. I don't mind that with the second flex. That's my defense of the whole thing.
That's a fair point. I got a question to you about Jerry Jeudy. So he goes in round 7 towards the end of the second round. I feel like there's so many Jerry Jeudy defenders in the past, like people who've been all in on him all the time. He finally has a breakout season, finally kind of puts it together, and now he's going in the 7th round of this draft. So I'm just kind of confused by it all. I feel like he should maybe possibly be going higher as the number 1 option. I know the QB situation just a absolute train wreck, but he's the number 1 guy there. Should Jeudy be going a little higher, or are you higher on him than maybe this draft is? Or
I'm probably higher on him than this draft. I mean, I guess, if you're looking at the range, you're looking at the guys who have come off the board. I mean, I would take Jeudy ahead of Pearsall. I would take him ahead of Jalen Waddle. I would take him ahead of Deebo Samuel. I'd probably take him ahead of Matthew Golden. Pickkins, I'm on the fence there, but I would take Jeudy over Odunze. And I think when you're getting into that Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley kind of range, that's where I kind of see Jerry Jeudy. So, I mean, I think that he's got him at value here. I mean, the whole thing is it's about the quarterback situation. But if you think that no matter who it is under center, I mean, Joe Flacco is going to throw it 45 times a game. Jerry Jeudy's going to see a significant target share. Shedeur Sanders, the winner of what was it, a completion percentage award that he won in college, right, from throwing bubble screens all day long. So I think that in a PPR format, I think Jeudy is going to retain value really no matter who's under center. Maybe not Kenny Pickett with his tiny little baby hands.
True. I agree with that.
But I mean, even like a guy like Dylan Gabriel, if he's under center, because he's a smaller QB, he's going to want to get the ball out of his hands quicker. Roll out, find Jeudy. So I think Judy's. I'm okay with it. I think he got him at value here, but I don't think it's like I'm not bumping Jerry Jeudy up to the 5th round where I'm taking like DJ Moore and Travis Hunter.
That's fair. I got you. So round 8, we had 1, 2, 3, 7 running backs going round 8. Charbonnet, Pacheco, Javonte Williams, Scatterboo, Harris, Robinson Jr., and then Tootin. I like Tootin a lot. That's one guy I'm kind of intrigued by. I think he could end up maybe getting maybe the lion's share of the carries there in Jacksonville. It seems like they really do not like ETN. And I don't know if Bigsby's a guy as well. So Tootin kind of intrigues me. Any backs out of that group that you like more than others?
I think I kudos to Toucan24 for handcuffing Zach Charbonnet to Kenneth Walker. You guys can find the weekly Bender over on RTSports.com, where somebody confesses that he blew it by not handcuffing the two together. So Toucan, I love you so much for making that move. That's absolutely brilliant. Najee Harris, I think, I actually like that pick. I get that Omarion Hampton is an extremely talented back, but sometimes when it comes to the NFL, you got to follow the money. And you're giving $9.5 million with $5.5 million guaranteed to Najee Harris. That's what you brought him in to, be a workhorse back for you. Hampton can work with him in conjunction, but I think that the Chargers want to run the football as much as they do, that, that both are going to be effective there. So I actually like Najee Harris because, they got to get their money's worth here. And I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what Omarion Hampton looks like against NFL caliber, pass blocking, and we'll see what happens there. So I like Najee as a little sneaky pick.
So after 8 rounds, every team has a QB except for 5. So there's still 5 teams searching for a QB here. I wonder if it's just going to be kind of a wait and see approach at this point. Who pulls the trigger first on getting that QB out of these guys that still need one. And I wonder if the guys who have already taken one are having some regrets since it's kind of fallen a little bit here now. I mean, a lot of these owners could end up getting a starting QB in round 10, and there's still some quality options out there. So
yeah,
kind of intrigued to see how that plays out.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I do find that very interesting because there are some really good QBs in there. And so the 5 teams that are taking them, when you get to this point in the draft where you're looking at some suspect running backs like Jordan Mason and Tajay Spears and even Trey Benson, Bashal Tootin, for that same token also. Not a defined role yet. Like, is it better to like secure yourself with that QB, or are you, is you gonna focus there on your RB5?
Yeah, you're definitely taking some more chances at this point with the guys going off the board for sure. Evan Ingram in Dallas. So you're the tight end whisperer, Howard. What is Ingram going to do there? And I'm in Denver. I said Dallas, didn't I? I meant Denver. He's in Denver, and he could end up being the guy who gets the second most targets, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on Ingram? Think he's going to have a good year?
Before I share my thoughts on Evan Ingram, I would just like to give a mental hug to Peter for taking my favorite quarterback off the board. I think that is phenomenal. And it comes to no surprise that Bradford Robertson then takes Kyler Murray right afterwards. Those are the last of like the legit mobile QBs, guys who can get you, 10 to 12 extra fantasy points by running a touchdown in and rushing for 40 or 50 yards. I love that. Ingram, sure. I think Ingram is a great pick this year because if you follow the coaching and you follow the, what they've done, it's all about what Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi do. And if you look in the last draft, I stacked Broncos with that in mind. And I did an article on Fantasy Alarm that just talks about the correlation, because what Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi are building in Denver, they're building what they had in New Orleans, right? And that was, you got RJ Harvey now in the Kamara role. Now, you don't have Drew Brees slinging the rock for 5,000 yards, but you do have Bo Nix who can get you 4,000 yards, and he's still going to rush for 400 or 500 yards himself. So great QB situation there. He's got a solid enough arm to support the whole passing game. If you've got RJ Harvey in the Alvin Kamara role, you can put Courtland Sutton and then later on maybe Pat Bryant in that Michael Thomas role as the X receiver. And then what you've got is something called the Joker role, which is something that Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi have constantly used. It's taking a wide receiver or a running back and lining, or a tight end it's either a tight end or a running back who you can also line up as a wide receiver, who can run crisp routes, who's got good hands, who can be a multifaceted weapon. And we used to see them do that with Jimmy Graham all the time, right? Built like a wide receiver, big, great hands, good red zone threat. That's what Evan Ingram is bringing to the table right now. Good, strong pass catcher. We saw that once he was a focal point of the passing attack in Jacksonville, he became reliable, and every ball that he dropped in New York became more and more irrelevant. So I genuinely feel like the tight end position has been something that Denver has really needed to kind of complete that trifecta. And I think that that Evan Ingram brings that to the table right now. Very bullish on him. Very bullish.
So I'm kind of intrigued what the Space Invaders team did here. So he took Ricky Pearsall in round 7, then Juwan Jennings in round 8, and then Brandon Ayuk in round 10. So that's the top 3 receivers in San Francisco. I guess you're banking on Ayuk might not start the season healthy, and then he comes in and takes over for those guys. Those guys start while he's out.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that strategy?
I mean, I think you're blanketing the wide receivers in San Francisco, and I mean, again, I don't mind it. I don't really want to start 3 receivers each week of the same team. I barely want to start 2 receivers because it's a rarity that if you're stacking and you got like Jamar Chase and T Higgins alongside Joe Burrow, well then okay, I could understand that. To have these guys, this is basically saying that one of these picks is going to be kind of tossed aside when Ayuk is 100% ready. But I mean, I don't mind it. I really don't. I think that they're, Pearsall and Jennings, they play different roles. And when they do go into 11 personnel and they do a 3 receiver set, Jennings will be that guy working out of the slot, and you'll have Ayuk and Pearsall on the outside. So again, I mean, I've got Jaden Daniels there. I don't necessarily know if I need 3 San Francisco wide receivers if I'm not thinking about, a little Brock Purdy action there also. But
It's true.
I don't hate it only because he still has McLaurin and Tet McMillan, both guys who are going to see a 20 to 25% target share on the regular with their respective teams. And you're only starting technically 2 wide receivers. So you can afford to see which San Francisco wide receiver commands the most attention, gets the highest target share, and that's your flex play.
So this round 10 is what we're in right now, and it started with Adam Thielen, then David Njoku, Rashad White, Colston Loveland, Brandon Ayuk, Josh Downs, Isaac Guriendo, Marquise Brown, Ray Davis, Austin Eckler, and then Trey Harris. So the Blue Week team, bye week team, I was looking at his last name was Blues. I'm losing it over here, Howard. But he went 3 straight running backs here in these later rounds, 8, 9, and 10. He took Robinson, Etienne, and then Eckler. So he kind of waited on that position after going early with Barkley, loaded up at receiver. I don't mind it. You just need one of those guys to maybe kind of come through there. And he has both Washington backs there and then Etienne as well, who, I mean, again, it doesn't sound great for him right now, but he could end up being the starter there as well. I don't think that strategy is too bad the way he's stacking his roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with ETN is you have to assume going into camp that he is the number 1 running back, and it's up to Tank Bigsby and or Bashal Tutin to take that job away from him. He is the most seasoned guy, and that's so you are looking at that. You're locking down the Washington backfield with Robinson and Eckler. I'm more of a fan of Robinson than I am of Austin Eckler because Eckler has even said that he's not that guy who goes between the tackles at all. So I look at that I'm like, yeah, you kind of had to take all 3. You had to handcuff the Washington backs because you have Saquon Barkley. You can't guarantee that Barkley is going to see the same volume that he saw last season. You just can't. And then Tony Pollard is your second guy working with a rookie QB. Yeah, we also see Tajay Spears kind of get some work. So I thought it was a necessary move for bye week Blues to do that, especially because he locked down like 4, strong wide receivers. Like he's got that. Like that's, 2 receivers and 2 flex right there. So you can kind of work around and see what you want to do with your running back depth.
So we now have just 1 team without a QB. The last 2 teams to take a QB were Jared Goff for bye week Blues, and then Dak Prescott went to Amamog. Again, you're in the midst of the live stream here on RealTime Fantasy Sports, joined by Howard Bender. Really excited to be doing this once again. We do this every Wednesday. If you want to get in the draft, you can sign up for that as well. You can hear Howard and I talk about it. It's up right now. You can go to rtsports.com, click on that Money League link, look at the draft times. You can see the drafts all up there. You can get in the one next Wednesday and hear Howard and I talk about it. So we see Howard, Jared Goff just went, and Dak Prescott. So if you have to pick between those two, who do you like?
I mean, at this point in time right now, I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna take the upside with Dak. Having George Pickens join CeeDee Lamb, you've got Jake Ferguson, maybe Kevontae Turpin or Jalen Tolbert steps up into that third receiver mold. But it's Brian Schottenheimer who's giving his running the show here, and he is a pass first guy. You kind of have like a suspect backfield. Maybe Jaden Blue, turns around and dominates. Maybe Javonte Williams wakes up and remembers how to play football. But, you look at everything that's going on in Detroit, and I know you've got a lot, the same weaponry is all there. You lost a lot of coaching. You lost a lot of coaching with Ben Johnson and Tanner Engstrand leaving. Couple other guys have moved on as well. So, it's still going to be a run first offense. That's what they want to do. That's what Dan Campbell wants, and that's how they're going to run it. So, yeah, Jared Goff in this with the new regime and how they translate everything and who wants to put their spin, I'd rather go with the Dak Prescott move.
Here's my only issue now with waiting on a QB like those two owners did. I mean, because I don't think Dak Prescott and Jared Goff are going to be guys you can just slide in there. Could end up being platoon guys, and it gets tough to make that decision every week if he ends up taking another QB similar to, I don't know, take Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy or something like that, and you end up trying to platoon him and figuring out. It can get kind of hairy a little bit when it comes to that. So I almost feel like I'd rather, not have to deal with that. I'd rather just have to get Nix or Murray like in round 9, like the owners did there. I think I just feel more comfortable with that because I just don't know if I feel good about just having Prescott and Goff as my set it and forget it. I think you're going to end up having to maybe platoon them a little bit, and that can get tough.
That can definitely get tough. I've got to find right now. I need to see when the Commanders' bye week is. Do you have that in front of you? I'm looking.
I don't.
All right, wait. I can find it. Real quick. We've got it over at fantasyalarm.com because I want to know Washington Commanders week 12. I want to know who the San Francisco 49ers play in week 12. Can we now find that? Because he took Space Invaders took Purdy.
Yep.
So week 12 is the week because you're going to want to start. Your guy, Jaden Daniels, every single week. But here we go for the bye week. Let's see it. Where is it? 1, 2, 3. Come on, give me this schedule. Come on, for crying out loud. Where is it? San Francisco schedule, week 12, the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, there you go.
It is a home game for the San Francisco 49ers, the Carolina Panthers, Space Invaders, taking a full advantage of the bye week announcements happening tonight, earlier this evening. I applaud that move. That is a baller move right there. If you don't believe in the secondary of the Carolina Panthers, that's a tasty cake move. I gotta like that. Respect.
I do too. It's interesting to me too. There was actually 1, 2, 3 teams that took a backup QB before Drago Champions was able to take his first QB, which was JJ McCarthy. And I think he might end up regretting a little bit having to waiting on a QB that long. I mean, I like JJ McCarthy, don't get me wrong, but I still feel like I would have liked a better option than him. And I may have double tapped QB in rounds 11 and 12, so I don't get stuck without another quality backup. That kind of worries me as well.
That is 100% what I was just about to say. I would have taken right then and there. That's when I would have taken Stafford.
Yeah, that would have made.
I'm not giving anything away to the participants. Everybody knows when you look at it and you see Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. I mean, Justin Herbert just off.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was still out there.
Are you kidding me? All right, see, there you go. That was the move that I would have done. I would have done Justin Herbert, and then I would have done Matthew Stafford or JJ McCarthy, one of those two guys. But I mean, you've got Matthew Stafford, you've got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. If you're going to kind of lock in on that bye week, maybe that's the way to go. Peter's team is blowing my mind right now. It's blowing my mind, Jeff.
You can see why he won it last year, Howard. This guy's the real deal. I had him on and interviewed him for like 45 minutes, and he was tremendous as well, as you can probably guess. But he's good. He knows his stuff.
I'm gonna have to, Peter. I'll just email you. But yeah, you're gonna have to join me on the alarm show. Just so we can talk about, this team is beyond sexy right now. But I mean, just, the experience of winning it all last year and then coming in this year as the defending champion, like that's going to be a great story. I'm very excited about that. It's going to be that's my journalistic and, kind of moment there.
So now that every team has a QB, Howard, we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. Let's talk about our favorite teams. We already know yours is Peter's, but is there another one besides his that kind of stands out to you? I'm going to peruse the draft board as well here and see if I can come up with one.
Again, mad respect for the risk taking of Los Haggis, FLC. I mean, again, you've got good, strong players here. There's so much. Like, if these players hit their ceiling, or at least like 75% towards their ceiling, I mean, I think this is going to be a very tough team to beat. There's a lot of risk involved here, but there's a lot of high quality players that might have been taken at value. I think that I like his team, and then I do like the Rain team as well. I think that is. Again, I might not like Bucky Irving, but you bulked up early on running back and you went in. He needs to go back to get some depth backs, but I like that team also. PPR, like Ridley, Debo, Shakir, Jaden Reed. Those guys will see targets.
I'm really intrigued by the Jack in the Box team. He has Ashton Genty, and then he went London, Higgins, Rice, and then I think Hurts is good value in round 5. Then he has Jameson Williams, and then he just took a chance on just trying to find a number 2 back to pair with Genty. He has Tyrone Tracy, Scattaboo, so he went with both Giants backs. Jordan Mason, who could end up getting a big share of the work in Minnesota if Jones has some injury issues, and Gary Endo and Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's a really smart draft. I think Jack in the Box has a team that could do really well. He doesn't have a tight end yet, though. That's one thing that kind of scares me at this point. So I think he could end up loading up on that position. Maybe he has somebody in mind. A lot of these owners do. When they get in a draft like this, have somebody they're thinking of drafting. So that's my one concern about him. But I think the Jack in the Box team has done pretty well so far.
If you're going to push a position down and wait on it, I think tight end is that position.
Yep.
You can find somebody. I got my eye on somebody that hasn't gone yet. So I think he's going to be, I think he'll be just fine.
So Space Invaders is another team that does not have a tight end. So just 2 teams without a tight end after 12 rounds, and Space Invaders and Jack in the Box. So interesting to see how that finishes out there. If you want to look at this draft board, if you're not watching this live, you can bring it up and you can see it at rtsports.com/live. So you can see how it ends up playing out. But Howard and I are going to get out of here in a minute or two, and we want to thank everybody for watching. It was a lot of fun to be doing this with Howard once again, and he participated in the last time, but this time he got to watch. But definitely great to get your insights, Howard. I really appreciate you coming on as always.
Oh, thanks for having me. An absolute blast. Now I got I'm telling you, man, I'm looking at Peter's draft here and I'm like, I got some work to go do now. Now I got some work to do because I'm going to have to, listen, man, I will enter again and I will draft and host with you again. It will do it in the coming weeks for sure. This is going to be a tough team to beat. I got some work.
Yeah, every Wednesday we do this here on RealTime Fantasy Sports. Get in the TFC, the Fantasy Championship. Actually, it's a Fantasy Life Championship now. I'm sorry, Fantasy Life Championship live stream. We do it every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of fun. Chance to win $500,000 as well. So thanks again to everybody for watching. Thanks again to you, Howard. I appreciate it. We're going to get out of here. Good luck to all you in your drafts.